What if I told you that you possess abilities that modern society has taught you to forget? That within your mind lies an arsenal of powers so extraordinary that, if developed, they would make you seem to have access to supernatural forces. The truth is that human beings were never meant to live solely by instinct or logic. Beyond the mechanics of survival lies an ancient truth that sages and mystics knew, but that has been deliberately erased from the collective consciousness. Your thoughts are not just private brain functions. They are living vibrations, electrical currents that shape what you call reality. Here's something that will shock you. Right now, you're already using psychic powers without realizing it. Every time you sensed something was going to go wrong, and it did. Every time you thought of someone and they called you. Every time you visualized an outcome and it manifested. These weren't coincidences. They were unconscious demonstrations of abilities that lie dormant within you, waiting to be consciously awakened. The difference between those who live at the mercy of circumstances and those who shape reality with their minds is only one: the knowledge of how to operate the invisible laws that govern manifestation. What you are about to discover is neither New Age theory nor esoteric fantasy. It is scientific principles of how consciousness interacts with the quantum field of reality. For centuries, this knowledge has been guarded in secret societies, mystery schools, and occult traditions. But the time has come to democratize these secrets. You will learn how to transform your thoughts into energetic commands, how to assume complete sovereignty over your mind, how to transmute negative emotions into pure power, and how to develop such sharp concentration that your intentions become unbreakable cosmic decrees. Prepare to ascend beyond the veil of ordinary reality and awaken to the extraordinary powers that have always been yours by divine right. If you're ready for this radical transformation, like this video and subscribe to the channel for more content that will expand your consciousness and awaken powers you never knew you possessed. Now, let's begin. There comes a point in life when a person stops seeing their thoughts as mere internal conversations and begins to perceive them for what they truly are: currents of energy, extending far beyond the skull. It's the moment they discover that each thought is not just a mental vibration, but a living signal, one that spreads through space like electricity through a wire. When this awareness awakens, everything changes, because those who understand that their thoughts are radiant energy fields no longer treat them as private, harmless monologues. It's like discovering that you've always been a powerful transmitter, but you were operating without knowing what frequency you were emitting. Manifestation isn't a mystical concept, but a law as precise as gravity. You attract not what you desire, but what vibrates at the same frequency as your inner state of being. Think of those days when you woke up with a sense of dread in your chest, and the whole world seemed to conspire to confirm your anxiety. It wasn't coincidence. It was vibrational alignment. Likewise, when you carried genuine enthusiasm, doors opened with almost magical ease. Your constant, emotionally charged thoughts emit a specific frequency, and the universe, like a giant tuning fork, resonates back with the same energetic sovereignty you project. The true alchemy of transformation begins when someone stops allowing random fears, idle complaints, and negative suggestions from others to shape their mental reality. Most people don't think consciously. They are thought by the world, reacting to circumstances like leaves in the wind. But there is a fundamental difference between being swept along by the collective mental currents and becoming a conscious builder of your own mind. When you take deliberate control of your internal state, feeding your consciousness only that which aligns with the reality you desire to experience, the scattered becomes focused, the passive becomes active. And in this subtle transition, Something much deeper begins to awaken, the remembrance that you have always held the controls of your experience in your own hands. The great illusion that keeps people trapped in cycles of frustration is the belief that they can want one thing and be something else entirely. They desire abundance while vibrating with scarcity. They yearn for love while radiating distrust. They seek success while harboring thoughts of inadequacy. The universe doesn't respond to your superficial desires. It faithfully mirrors your essence, revealed through your most consistent thought patterns. It's like trying to tune a radio to 100.5 FM, while the transmitter is set to 95.3. No matter how far you turn the dial, the frequency you're emitting is the only one that will be picked up by reality. This law operates with a mathematical precision that would astonish any scientist. The energy you carry in your chest, the beliefs you whisper to yourself in quiet moments, the emotional patterns that have become second nature, these are the true magnets of your experience. When someone constantly complains about a lack of money, they're not just expressing frustration, they're reinforcing an identity of scarcity that magnetizes more challenging financial situations. Conversely, those who develop a genuine inner sovereignty of abundance, not just by talking about prosperity, but by breathing it through their mental habits, discover that opportunities begin to appear in seemingly coincidental ways. Real transformation happens when a person stops trying to change external circumstances and begins to work on the internal frequency that generates them. It's a process of personal alchemy, where you stop being a cosmic beggar begging for change and become an artist of manifestation, sculpting your reality through conscious vibration. When your thoughts, emotions, and actions are aligned with what you want to experience, life has no choice but to reflect this harmony back to you. And it is precisely in this alignment that the next secret lies: the need to take full command of your own mind. Establishing yourself as the unquestionable sovereign of the realm of your thoughts. For too long, the throne of consciousness has remained empty, while lesser voices have taken control of the human mind. Ancestral fears, compulsive desires, beliefs borrowed from society, and uncontrolled emotional habits have installed themselves as unelected rulers, dictating decisions, shaping perceptions, and directing life energy to places that do not serve the soul's true purpose. When one finally awakens to this inner usurpation and declares with genuine authority, "I am," they are not merely uttering words. They are reclaiming their rightful position as sovereign of their own mental realm. It is the moment when one ceases to be a slave to their own thoughts and becomes the guiding force behind them. True mental sovereignty is not about suppressing or battling the lower aspects of the psyche, but about putting them in their rightful place, as useful servants rather than tyrannical masters. When fear arises, you listen to it, but do not blindly obey. When anger flares, you observe it, but do not react impulsively. Each time you choose awareness over automatic reaction, the throne solidifies beneath your feet. Will becomes your scepter, attention your sword, and concentration your armor. It is a silent revolution where you do not fight your thoughts like a dictator facing a rebellion, but rise above them with the natural dignity of one born to lead. This sovereignty brings with it a cosmic responsibility, recognizing that every thought allowed to settle in the mind sends ripples through the unseen world, shaping the form your reality takes. When you leave the mental gates open, stray thoughts from society's collective mind infiltrate and take root, generating experiences that do not correspond to your true desires. But when you establish yourself as the conscious and watchful eye, you filter what enters, direct what grows, and transform your mind into a sacred laboratory of intentional creation. And it is in this purified space that true alchemical work can begin. The ancient art of transmuting the densest emotions into pure, constructive power. The darkest emotions that plague human experience are not enemies to be banished, but raw metals awaiting refinement in the furnaces of awakened consciousness. Fear, anger, jealousy, and despair are dense, volatile elements that carry tremendous energy, the same force that, when consciously transmuted, becomes the fuel for extraordinary powers. Just as ancient alchemists sought to transform lead into gold, you learn here to elevate your inner atmosphere, converting reaction into revelation, pain into power. The key is to recognize these emotions without identifying with them. Feeling fear rise is not a failure, but a sign that a new layer of being is emerging. True magic happens in the space between consciousness and impulse. That's where transmutation begins. When you say, "I am angry," you've already surrendered your scepter of sovereignty. But when you declare, "I observe anger," you create the necessary distance for alchemy to operate. In this inner laboratory, each emotional current reveals its seed of transformation. Redirected fear becomes heightened perception. Purified anger becomes passion guided by justice. Jealousy stripped of illusion reveals a forgotten desire for self-growth. The energy that once dominated you now becomes your servant. And you discover that there is no permanent emotion, only patterns that strengthen through repetition or dissolve through lack of nourishment. The process of emotional refinement requires loving but relentless vigilance. Each time you choose to act against the current of a lower impulse, you are forging a new neural circuit and weakening the old, smiling in sadness, breathing through anger, speaking with love when it's hardest to do so. These are not denials of reality, but declarations of mastery over the forces that once controlled you. With time and persistence, emotional alchemy becomes instinctual. What once destroyed you now informs you. The storms you feared become sources of clarity and power. And as the internal climate harmonizes, the external world begins to mirror this transformation, responding with less resistance and more fluidity to those who have mastered the art of transmuting density into light. Concentration is the difference between being a passive spectator of one's own life and becoming a deliberate craftsman of reality. Without it, all mental power disperses like sunlight through fog, present but ineffective. With it, even the faintest spark of thought becomes a laser blade, capable of cutting through resistance and materializing the impossible. The ordinary mind is reactive, not sovereign. It leaps from sensation to distraction, pulled by sounds, lights, memories, or fears, but a focused mind obeys only one voice, its chosen will. It is the sharpest instrument in the development of any higher ability, from heightened intuition to telepathic sensitivity, because all these faculties depend on the precision and strength of this mental blade. Developing true concentration is more challenging than most realize, because you're reversing years of habitual distraction. Start where you are, sit quietly and direct your full attention to a single object, word, or image. Each time your mind wanders and you bring it back to focus, you sharpen the blade. Each second of deliberate attention strengthens the nervous system, enabling it to sustain a unique vibration over time. With constant practice, this becomes effortless, then natural, then magnetic. The most extraordinary thing about a focused mind is its quiet power. You don't need to shout to the universe when you're aligned with your purpose. A focused mind sends signals like lightning, precise, swift, and undeniable. A truly focused mind becomes a clear receiver because your mental field is no longer noisy. Your visualizations come to almost tangible life because the power behind them is unified. It's like the difference between a flickering flashlight and a laser beam. The world doesn't change, but your perception sharpens. And thus, your relationship with the world is completely transformed. When you are no longer dragged along by every passing mood or external distraction, you become centered, precise, and sovereign. And it is from this still center that the real work can begin, directing thought as a sculptor molds clay, sending vibration as a singer projects tone. Concentration is your tool, your weapon, and your key, and once mastered, no inner door will remain locked for long, especially when fueled by the most powerful fuel of all, authentic desire. Authentic desire is not a passing whim or a desperate yearning born of need. It is the electrical pulse that animates all creation, the magnetic thread that pulls the invisible into the visible. Within the framework of thought and vibration, desire is more than emotion. It is the frequency itself that shapes results. When understood and consciously directed, it becomes a force of attraction so potent that circumstances bend to meet it. Without desire, thought has no propulsion. It may exist as a faint spark, but it cannot leap into manifestation. With true desire, however, the mental engine roars to life, and energy moves through the subtle planes. With a determination that does not take no for an answer. Many confuse desire with desperation or grasping, but authentic desire is not born of lack. It emerges from the soul's knowledge of what it is ready to receive. When a person desires correctly, they are not begging the universe, they are claiming their inheritance. Desire of this nature becomes a tuning fork for reality, vibrating with conviction and subtly calling into form the people, opportunities, and conditions that match its frequency. Not all desires qualify. Only those infused with clarity, persistence, and focused attention carry the necessary voltage to magnetize results. It's like the difference between a timid whisper and an authoritative command. The universe responds to what is declared with unshakable certainty. The key is to fall in love with your goal, not passively, but actively. Think of desire as a courtship with the invisible. The more fully you hold it, the more intimately the universe reveals its potential forms. Visualize the outcome, affirm it with speech, act in alignment, and above all, nurture the emotional fire that sustains it. In the development of psychic or occult powers, this principle is central. Every step, from awakening intuition to controlling subtle energies, requires the sustained magnetism of desire. Without it, effort withers and concentration fades. With it, every practice intensifies, the subconscious activates, thought currents are directed, and the law of attraction responds accordingly. But even the most ardent desire needs something more to solidify into reality, the silent power of habit, which transforms temporary impulses into permanent structures of consciousness. True power doesn't reside in isolated moments of brilliance, but is forged in rhythm, in repetition. In the grooves the mind returns to again and again. Habit, often underestimated, is the architect of permanence. Thoughts that are rehearsed become reflexes. Emotions that are cultivated take deep root. When mental patterns are left to chance, they tend to slide into the negative: worry, fear, envy, self-doubt. But when consciously guided, they become the scaffolding for psychic development, inner stability, and lasting control. Each mental pattern you repeat is a signal sent to the subconscious, a mold in which life silently begins to form, creating your energetic identity through the constant repetition of certain vibrations. The brain works like a sheet of paper that folds more easily along familiar lines. Each time a thought is practiced, be it confidence, strength, or calm, it becomes easier to think it the next time. This is the basis of true psychic power. Before one can wield extraordinary forces, one must demonstrate mastery over the ordinary fluctuations of thought and feeling. William James wrote that the secret of education is to transform the nervous system into an ally. The same applies here. When you imprint the correct thought repeatedly into the deepest layers of the mind, it eventually becomes second nature, an automatic sovereignty that operates even when you are not consciously directing it. To cultivate this groove of power, start small but persistently. Choose a quality, self-confidence, clarity, or fearlessness, and imprint it on your mind through repetition and action. Speak it, think it, act it out in every possible moment of practice. Each instant of conscious exercise is a brushstroke, painting the portrait of your future self. The time will come when you will face a challenge, and instead of falling back on old fears, you will respond from your new mental baseline. This moment will not be magic, it will be momentum. The strength you have built through habit will carry you forward without conscious effort. Psychic growth does not spring from random bursts of effort, but from the discipline of mental cultivation, day after day, fold after fold. And behind this apparent randomness of daily events, a law more precise than any clockwork orchestrates each outcome with mathematical precision. Behind every experience, beneath every outcome, lies a structure more precise than any clockwork. Life moves not by chance, but by immutable law. Thought is the architect, desire is the magnet, and belief is the compass that directs every manifestation. When things seem to just happen, it's not because fate is capricious, but because thought, silent and often unrecognized, has been busy sowing seeds beneath the surface. Those who fail to see the connection between their dominant thoughts and their outcomes remain trapped in a fog of randomness. But those who awaken to the invisible threads begin to pull the strings of their own destiny. Every mental attitude is a command sent to the invisible. You don't need to shout to be heard. A silent conviction held consistently vibrates more powerfully than any fleeting wish. The energy you emit through your thought patterns creates a resonance in the field of reality, and the universe, obeying the laws of correspondence, arranges circumstances that echo back at the same frequency. When you expect failure, even without saying it aloud, the universe receives your request and moves to deliver it. Similarly, when you calmly hold the thought of success, not just desire, but knowledge, you set in motion the forces that bring circumstances, people, and ideas together around your goal. This isn't mysticism, it's mental chemistry. You emit a tone, and reality resonates with it. Chance is merely a name for a law not yet understood, and what some call luck, others call vibrational alignment between inner expectation and outer manifestation. The truly successful are rarely the most talented or the most blessed by birth. They are simply those who remain in harmony with the higher frequencies of confidence, effort, and positive expectation. Their energy is congruent with success, and thus success finds its way to them through the natural channels of law. On the other hand, those who walk through life preparing for disaster unconsciously invite it. This law is impartial, favoring no one and punishing no one. It simply responds with the same precision that gravity pulls objects to the ground. To understand this is to awaken to the ultimate truth. You have never been a victim of chance, but a conductor of causes. And the power to redirect any current of your experience has always been in your hands, or rather, in the sovereignty of your focused mind. We have reached the end of a journey that in reality is only the beginning. Every word you absorbed here was not passive information, but an awakening. Seeds of power planted in the deepest layers of your consciousness. The veil that separated you from your innate powers now dissolves. What once seemed supernatural reveals its true nature. Dormant human abilities that have always been at your disposal. Awaiting the moment when you would assume full sovereignty over your own mind, you have not discovered something new, you have remembered something ancient, something that entire civilizations knew before humanity forgot who it truly is. The power you carry is not a privilege of a select few, or a gift reserved for mystics. It is your natural inheritance as a conscious being. Every thought you consciously control, every emotion you transmute into constructive force, every moment of focused concentration is rewriting the code of your reality. From now on, when you look in the mirror, don't just see flesh and bones, recognize the energetic being, capable of shaping worlds through directed vibration. Your words carry creative power, your feelings emit magnetic frequencies, and your focused attention becomes a beacon that attracts that with which you resonate. Real transformation began the moment you realized you are not a victim of circumstances, but the silent architect of every experience. Now you know that each day is an opportunity to practice this mastery, consciously choosing each dominant thought, directing each emotional current toward higher purposes, using the power of habit to sculpt the identity you desire to express. The outer world will gradually become a reflection of the inner world you cultivate with loving discipline. And when this happens, when your life becomes living evidence of your inner mastery, you will not only have unlocked extraordinary abilities, but will have become a living example that true magic has always been the conscious control of one's own mind. The veil has been removed. The power has always been yours. Now, it's time to claim it fully and use it to create the extraordinary reality your soul came to experience in this lifetime. The awakening has begun, and there is no turning back. If this content resonated with you, and awaken something deep within your consciousness, demonstrate that you're ready for this journey of transformation. Like this video, subscribe to the channel for more revelations that will expand your mental powers. And in the comments, share which of these 9 principles resonated most with you. Your participation strengthens this conscious awakening community. Until the next video, keep your vibration high and practice your mental sovereignty.